An alleged sexual assault victim is back on the stand in the sex trafficking trial of three brothers. Prosecutors say Oren, Alon, and Tal Alexander used their money and status to lure women with the intention of sexually assaulting them. So far, two women have taken the stand who say they were raped, one by Alon, another by Tal. Now, if convicted, the brothers could face life in prison, but they have denied all the charges. ABC News legal contributor Bernardo Villalona has more on that. Hi, Bernardo. So you say the defense has the big challenge in this case, even though the burden of proof is on the prosecution. Why?
Yeah, so even though the prosecution has the burden of proving their defendant's guilt, each one of them individually, the defense has a big challenge here. And the big challenge has to deal in the strength in numbers. We're talking about over 12 victims that supposedly are going to be testifying before this jury. So normally when you're talking about one victim or maybe two victims, you can always argue credibility and that this is a money grab and that they all have a motive to come in and testify. But when you're talking about victims that are going to be taken to the stand one after another, the jury's going to start thinking, wait, there may be some truth to actually what's going on because these are people that do not know each other. Also take into account that the defense has a challenge in terms of the text messages that these brothers had, having to deal with the celebration of their sexual encounters. And also at least one of the brothers has an issue having to deal with the sex trafficking of a minor, because there we're not dealing with consent. Here we're talking about someone that was under the age of 18 and wouldn't have been able to consent. So we're not talking about that there was a consensual encounter. But this is going to be a long trial. We're going to see a lot of witnesses coming to testify, not just victims, but also outcry witnesses, being the people that were told about these alleged encounters soon or after it happened.
This case is being compared to the Diddy trial, but you say there are a few key differences here. How so?
Yeah, so when we're talking about the Diddy trial, we covered it extensively. We're talking about one of the similar charges having to deal sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. But the huge difference between Diddy's trial and the Alexander brothers trial is that we're dealing with numerous victims, alleged victims that are alleged in the prosecution of the Alexander trial. We're also dealing with a similarity having to deal with money, with power, with wealth, with motive that maybe as a defense is arguing that this is a big money grab and that these victims or these witnesses, they were in it consensually in the sense that they wanted to live this lavish lifestyle and they wanted to be associated with these rich and wealthy brothers. So similarities, yes, huge differences have to deal with the numbers.
So Bernardo, what are you watching for next?
Well, I'm very curious to see that based on the text messages and based on the video and based on the number of victims, whether one or all three of these defendants of these brothers are going to testify. But of course, we're not going to know that until after the prosecution rests. But that is something that I'm going to be key and watching to see whether they're going to be forced to testify, having to explain the text messages.
All right, Bernardo Villalona, always great to have your analysis. Thank you.